everyone, and welcome to the explanation of a new problem. So in this video, we are going to discuss question number 4 of Lead Code Contest 246, minimum absolute difference queries. So the description of this problem is pretty small, and I think I can just simply jump over to the example to explain you what this question is asking us to do. So in this question, we have an array nums with us over here, right? And we have some queries with us. Queries is a list of lists. So each list inside the query array actually contains two elements, right? And these elements are representing L and R. So this is the range of elements we need to consider in this nums array. Now, why do we need to consider them? Let's quickly go over here with an example. So I'm going to write this 1, 3, 4, 8. Let's take our L to be 1 and R to be 3. So now we are going to consider this range over here. Inside this range, we are going to find all the possible absolute differences between these elements. So what do I mean by all the possible absolute differences? Now I need to consider two numbers, two positions, two elements inside this array. Let me say that their index is I and j, such that I is not equal to j and ARRI is not equal to ARRJ. I'll get to this second point. Let me discuss this first one. So I and j cannot be equal, which means that I need not find the absolute difference of one element from itself. I need to find different absolute differences. So basically, I'm going to find 4 minus 3, then 8 minus 4, and also 8 minus 3 is one possibility. This over, let me quickly write their answers over here. So 4 minus 3 will give me 1, 8 minus 4 will give me 4, and 8 minus 3 will give me 3. Among a 1, 4, and 3, the minimum is 1, obviously. So this will be our answer for this particular range. I said that ARRI and ARRJ cannot be same because in the problem statement, it is actually given to us that if the minimum absolute difference is coming out to be 0, don't consider it. What this means is that if your array is 1, 2, 2, 4, right? And the range that we need to consider over here is this. So one possibility is 2 minus 2, other is 4 minus 2, and another is again 4 minus 2, right? This 2 will represent this one, and this 2 is representing this 2. So among this, we have an option of 0, 2, and 2. So we should not consider 0, right? 0 will never be in our consideration when we are finding out the minimum absolute differences. We need to consider non-zero numbers. So our answer in this range would be 2 actually. So this is the problem. This is the problem statement. Now let's quickly understand this example on the screen. Now we had this array 1, 3, 4, 8, and we have the query 0 and 1. So 0 and 1 would mean we are considering this range over here. In this range, there is only one possible calculation, which is 3 minus 1. This will give you 2. So our answer is obviously going to be 2. Then we have 1, 2, and 2, 3. Now again, these are two elements itself. 1, 2 is 3, 3, 4 over here, and 2, 3 is 4, 8 over here. The results would be 4 minus 3 and 8 minus 4. So for range 1, 2, we have the minimum absolute difference as 1. For range 2, 3, we have 4. So as you can see, the next output is 1 and 4. Now comes the actual thing where we are actually finding out some more elements. That is 0 and 3. So 0 and 3 is basically the entire nums array. So we need to find all the possibilities. Now, three possibilities I've discussed over here. One possibility that is three more possibilities that are left now are 3 minus 1, 4 minus 1, and 8 minus 1. This is giving me 2, this is giving me 3, and this is giving me 7. Again, my final answer is 1 itself because among 1, 4, 3, 2, 3, and 7, 1 is the minimum. Hence, my answer is 1 over here. So this was the explanation about the problem statement and the example that is given to us over here. Now let's discuss the approach that one might follow. So one simple approach that must have crossed everybody's mind is the very naive and very brute force approach. For this, I'm going to use the second example over here. 4, 5, 2, 2, 7, 10. So this example I have over here with me. Let's say that just a second. Perfect. Let's say that we are considering this range over here, 2 to 70, right? So this is one query, and we have, let's say, let's say m such queries. We have m queries that we need to perform. Basically, this m is actually the length of that queries list that we have. And one query is such that L is equal to 2 and R is equal to the end, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? We are considering this range. Now, when we have this range, one very simple intuitive method that you might think is, let's just sort these elements. So 2 to 7, 10 after sorting coincidentally gives 2 to 7, 10 also, a happy coincidence for us. Now, when we have this sorted list of elements, we can subtract their adjacent numbers, right? Why adjacent? Because adjacent, logically, if you think, this will be the only possible options that we have as candidates for minimum. Let me explain this. Let me explain this statement. So, why do we need to consider only the adjacent elements? Is because that after sorting, I do not need to consider 10 minus 2 for finding the minimum absolute difference. Why? Because I can say with 100% certainty that any elements between 10 or 2, when subtracted by 2, will give us a better minimum than this 10 and 2 itself. So in simpler words, what I'm saying is, we can say with 100% certainty that 10 minus 2 is definitely going to be greater than 7 minus 2, because we have arranged these elements in a sorted order, right? So now we need to subtract these respective elements. So 2 minus 2 gives me 0, 7 minus 2 gives me 5, and 10 minus 7 actually gives me 3. 0 is something that we are not going to consider. So we have only two options, 5 and 3, and 3 is definitely the minimum answer. So for this particular query, this mth query, we are getting 3 as our answer, right? So let's discuss the time complexity. We need to perform this sorting and searching and the difference calculation for m queries. Sorting would take t log t. Let me replace this t with the viable thing. So if I say that the length of this nums array is n, worst case would be when your range is 0 till 5, right? So n log n, right? Further, you're going to multiply this by one loop of n, I guess, because you have to traverse over this sorted array and calculate the adjacent differences. If you sort a little intelligently, you can avoid this complexity. So I'm going to remove this from consideration. So m into n log n. Now I think we can understand this is going to give us time limit exceeded. Why? Because n is in the range of 10 to the power 5. N is in the range of 10 to the power 5, and m, where's m? M is actually length of queries. It's in the range of 2 into 10 to the power 4. So 2 into 10 to the power 4, right? And this is exceeding, it's going 10 to the power 9 almost. And definitely it's going to exceed the 1 second mark, because 1 second can be done in 10 to the power 7, or in some cases 10 to the power 6, right? So this means that this approach is going to definitely give us time limit exceeded. So this approach is something that we cannot follow. Now we need to think about certain optimizations to this approach. Let's discuss them. Now, the other approach that one might think of, perhaps this. Yeah. So another approach that we might think of, we will sort, but we will store the indices of the sorted. Let me quickly write the example again. Was 4, 5, 2 to 7. 4, 5, 2, 2, 7, 10. Right. So we are going to sort this, but we will sort this in an auxiliary array. Actually, this auxiliary array will not store the sorted elements by themselves. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I will take one box extra. No worries. They will store the index. So which is the smallest element among this nums array, which is over here 2, which is index is 2, so 2 comes here. Then we have 3, then 4, then 5, then 7, and then 10. So this is the sorted array, but instead of storing ARR I am actually storing I itself. Why does this help me? We'll understand this with an example. Let's say we had one query 2, 5, right? This query L and R, right? So now we know our query is in the range 2, 5. We'll check if the adjacent elements, each adjacent element actually fall inside this range. So it's very clear that 2 and 3 will fall in this range of 2, 5. So this is one viable option that we can consider for subtraction. And so we are going to subtract. Remember, we are not going to subtract 3 from 2. No, we are going to subtract ARR 3 and ARR 2. Actually, it's nums, but I'm sorry. So 2 minus 2, it's going to give me 0. And this is something that is not in our consideration. No worries. Let's move ahead. 3, 0. So 3 is in the range of 2, 5, but 0 is not in the range. So this is not something that we can consider. Similarly, 0, 1 we cannot consider. 1, 4 we cannot consider. 4, 5. We can definitely consider 4, 5. 4, 5 can be considered. So 10 minus 7 giving me 3. Remember, this is ARR 5 and this is ARR 4, and the subtraction is giving us 3. So we have only one viable option within this range, which was 3. If you want to look inside your array, 2, 5 is actually giving you this range. And in this example, we have 2 minus 2, 7 minus 2, and 10 minus 7. We already calculated for this, and this was giving us 3 in any case. This is another approach. For M queries, you're going to traverse over an auxiliary array, and its auxiliary array's length would be as the same as nums array. And this again exceeds your time limit, unfortunately. This is again not a viable solution for this question. However, this is another approach. Now, let's discuss the final method to solve this problem, the method that will actually work, and the method that you're going to code soon. For that, we need to make a very important observation from the constraints over here. And that important observation is the fact that inside your nums array, your elements cannot be more than 100. And I mean to say is that 5, 4, 2, 2, 7, 10, these numbers will never exceed 100. Now, one thing that I think I should discuss as from an interview point of view, it's that for questions in which you need to perform some operation in a given range. So this is basically a range given to you, right? So if you need to perform a bunch of operations in a given range, it is usually always the case that you need to pre-process your array on which these queries need to perform. This pre-processing will definitely be affected by what operation you need to perform. Most of the times this pre-processing would be a little different in each scenario. We are going to discuss a very different, very unique, and a very tricky form of pre-processing that we need to perform over here. But it is almost always certain that some kind of pre-processing is required to solve a question like this. With experience, you will understand this more and more, but just keep in your mind, for questions involving queries, we need to do some kind of pre-processing. Now, what kind of pre-processing are we going to do over here? I'm going to take a very arbitrary, any example with me. Like I have some numbers over here, right? And see how this range of 100 helps me. You'll understand very soon enough. So I know that my elements will never cross 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 100, right? So I'm going to pre-process this array such that, let's say that at this point is L. Change the color, just a second. I am going to say that this point is L and this point is R, right? How I'm going to pre-process this array, very crucial to understand. Please pay huge amount of attention over here, right? So let's just say that at each point, at each index corresponding to each index of the nums array, I am also storing another auxiliary array whose length will be 100. This 100 length array will be one index. Remember, this will be one index. So let me just draw this 1, 2, and 3 dot dot dot, and this will reach till 100 over here, right? Corresponding elements inside these inside this auxiliary array will be storing the frequency up until that particular point. So let's just say that we had many elements before this n, and we have an array over here with us uh, at this point and also at this point, right? Uh, 1, 2, 3 dot 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 100. So let's say that the frequency of 1 is 4, frequency of 2 is 7, frequency of 3 is 2, and let's say that all other are 0. Let's consider it, right? At this rth position, we also have a frequency array which is storing the frequency of all the numbers that are coming in this range, right? So 1, 2, 3 dot 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 100. Let's say that 1 is occurring 5 times, 2 is occurring 7 times, 3 is also occurring 3 is occurring 6 times, dot dot dot, and rest everything is 0. One thing that I need to correct over here is that let's say that this was L and this was L minus 1. So in order to find what elements with what frequency are present in this range of L to R, just subtract this preprocessed array that you have over here with the preprocessed array of L minus 1. This is very logical. If what I'm trying to say is till rth point you have 5 ones, till L minus 1th point you have 4 ones. This logically means that uh, one one can one 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 will be present at some of at one of these points, right? The frequency of twos till the rth position is 7, and the frequency of twos till the L minus 1th position is also 7, which I can safely say, with which I can safely say 2 will not be occurring at any of these positions. It's impossible. Similarly, 3 is coming 6 times over here, and 3 is coming 2 times over here. This means that 4 threes are somewhere present between L and R. Very logical, right? So pre-processing, let's assume that we have done for each and every index. Let's say this is 0, 1, 2, dot, 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 3, dot, 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 10, dot, 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 till 100. We have done a pre-processing. Actually, this is in the range of 10 to the power 5. So we have done the pre-processing and we have found all these pre-processed arrays for this. And this pre-processed array is not taking a huge amount of space. Why? Because of this interesting constraint that the nums I element will not exceed 100. So by subtracting this, basically you will get all the frequency of the elements that are occurring between L and R. Now, how does that help us? Let's understand that. So to explain that, I'll probably have to draw the final array that we're getting by subtracting these two. So this the subtracted array, again, its size will also be 100 itself, right? So I'm not going to draw a 100 size array over here. I'm just going to draw the useful numbers that I need. 5 minus 4 is giving me 1 frequency. 7 minus 7 is giving me 0 frequency. 6 minus 2 is giving me 4 frequency. And I assume rest of them to be 0. So 0 minus 0 is going to give me 0 itself, right? Let's say that we had 100 also. I feel bad for this 100. Let's say this was 1 over here and this was 0. So at some point, this is 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 100 over here, and the frequency is 1, right? Now, I hope you remember I mentioned that I'm taking this as a one indexed array to simplify some things for for this explanation. So now just iterate over this array and find out two adjacent non-zero frequencies, right? What are the first two adjacent non-zero frequencies that you find? It's 1 and it's 4, right? So it actually does not matter how many times 4 is coming and how many times 1 is coming. I just know that in this range, 1, 4 and 1, uh, sorry, I used 4 and 1, sorry. So these are the frequencies and these are actually the elements. The indices are the elements over here. So basically in this range, 3 is coming 4 times and 1 is coming 1 time. So it does not matter how many times it's coming. Their difference would remain the same. So 3 minus 1 at some point will give you 2 itself, right? Another adjacent non-zero frequency is 4 and over here 1 for 100. So 100 minus 3 would be another possibility, which gives me 97. Obviously 2 is smaller. This will give me my answer, right? So let's discuss a little bit about how you store this huge pre-processed thing. So this huge pre-processed thing will actually be a 2D matrix whose dimensions would be, um, this would be 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 dot till 10 to the power 5. And this will be 1, 2, 3 till dot, dot, dot 100. So this is representing num's I, and this is representing the length of nums. So we have this pre-processed arrays over here with us, and their sizes are actually in the range of 100. Whenever we are given some, let's say that this over here is 50, 1, this is R, and let's say 3 is L. So we are going to subtract the preprocessed array of 51th index with preprocessed array of L minus 1. Remember guys, L minus 1, which is the second over here, that would give me the range, the frequencies of all the elements in the range L comma R. And I'm going to, let's say that I'm storing it in another auxiliary array. This would give, and I'll just subtract the adjacent elements, right? So I think this preprocessing, or I think this is something like prefix some calculation itself for this 10 to the power 5 times, and then a simple reversal over the size of array 100. This will give us our final answer. So if you think about the space complexity over here for this auxiliary matrix, that would be 10 to the power 5 into 10 to the power 2, which gives me 10 to the power 7. This will work. And about the time complexity of this particular approach, basically, I'm going to consider the situation where you have made this matrix, and now after this preprocessed matrix has been made, you basically have m queries that you need to perform, which is in the range of 10 to the power 4. It's in the range of 10 to the power 4, right? I think I'm forgetting. 2 into 10 to the power 4. Yeah. So it's in the range of 10 to the power 4. And the traversal over each pre-processed difference array that you will be getting of size 100, let's multiply it by 100. This gives you 10 to the power 6. And you could have gone till 10 to the power 7. So this approach actually lies well within our field of range. And this particular approach will not give you time limit exceeded error. So I hope this was clear to you guys. As it is, this video has gone a little long than I had expected because this was a very interesting question. See, the question is actually a medium level question, but if you progress gradually from the brute force to a little optimization till the best possible solution that I've explained over here right now, you'll understand that this is one of the very tricky and yet a very good question that you could have come across in this time period, and this would have helped you understand so many concepts, and it would have made clear a lot of things for you guys. This problem, actually solving this problem, gives you a lot of experience. So like I was saying, this video has already gone long enough. I won't be adding pseudocode in this video. I urge you to go to the compilers. I'm sure this is one of the problems that might have been left out by you in the competition due to less time, and understanding this problem actually took a lot of time. I think this video definitely would have crossed 20 minutes by now. So I won't be covering the pseudocode. If you guys need pseudocode for this problem, if you need my help, please mention something in the comments, and I'll be sharing the written pseudocode with you with explanation in the comments of that pseudocode so that you can write this code in your compilers. Okay, thank you.